of the All People's Congress Party. Alfred has written a formal complaint to the Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, regarding the court variations granted to the TIIEMC to conduct the APC convention in Makeni, saying the committee is not legitimately seated to have conducted the National Delegates Convention. Alfred, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
We've seen a letter signed by Alfred Peter Conteh to the political parties registration questioning the legality of the TIIEMC for conducting the National Delegates Convention in Makeni. First off, did that letter come from you?
Yes, I wrote that letter.
So on what grounds are you questioning the legality of the committee that conducted the National Delegates Convention?
Well, on the grounds that, first of all, the ITGC, the committee that I chair, is in charge of the overall affairs of the APC until convention, which is the National Delegates Conference. And that particular mandate was given to us in the final judgment of His Lordship Adrian Fisher from the same High Court. So an interim injunction or interim ruling would not actually override that type of final judgment. So that's number one. Number two, the TIIEMC, the group that was given this particular task, was only created to conduct elections. In fact, in the transition provisions, which is Article 82 of the All People's Congress Party's constitution, it clearly states their purpose, their mandate, and nothing beyond. So for someone whose job is to only conduct elections and whose mandate ended on the 17th, according to even the chairman of the TIIEMC, he wrote a letter, which is what you call certificate of compliance, to myself, I believe the PPRC, and the judge, that he's completed his job and all things that he was told to do, he did them. So he was done.
When was that letter written?
That letter, we received that letter on the morning of the 17th.
Right.
It's when my lawyer received the letter. So basically, his mandate had expired. In fact, when he wrote to accept the position given to him, the district where somebody was elected that's not in the country, that was not even registered to vote. He was elected chairman of a district. And when the PPRC made that particular ruling to rerun or redo the elections, they did not give it to the TIIEMC because they know their mandate expired already. So these are all grounds for my letter, that whatever transpired in Makeni is illegal, and I don't want anybody to countenance it. The task, the mandate given to the ITGC still stands until that is.
I'm a little curious, Alfred. You mentioned the TIIEMC is a body created by the new constitution of the APC, correct?
Correct.
And its mandate is to conduct elections. And so it did conduct the lower level elections. But the National Delegates Convention was also an elective conference where national officers were going to be elected, where flag bearer was also going to be elected as it happened. So that's not part of their mandate to have also conducted the National Delegates Elective Convention in Makeni?
Well, you go by the law, the ruling.
Right.
The ruling stops at lower level elections.
And it was very clear?
It was clear. In fact, in the courtroom, one of the lawyers representing the defendants, or I would say in this particular case, the plaintiff, in the ruling that came out on the 23rd, one of the lawyers stood up and asked if the TIIEMC is going to be allowed to conduct election onto convention. And in that courtroom, the judge clearly stated that their mandate ends at the lower level elections only. So that's why, in fact, the chairman of the TIIEMC wrote the letter that their mandate has ended. Now, the body in the Constitution that's supposed to conduct all elections is not the TIIEMC. There's a separate office for that. My submission to the CRC, which is the Constitution Review Committee, was to create an office. I named it OOE, Office of Elections. But they gave it a different name. I don't remember the correct acronym.
Right.
So there's an office for that, and it's an elected position. We have to go in, we elect people from every district whose responsibility is to facilitate the conduct of elections.
You also mentioned that the body that was charged with the responsibility of conducting a National Delegates Convention by the court is the ITGC. How so? How did that happen? Was there a clear order from the court that it's the ITGC that should conduct a National Delegates Convention?
Clear order from the court, and that is paragraph 9010 of the ruling. That
the ruling from which Justice Adrian Fisher?
From Justice Adrian Fisher. I'm talking of the final judgment that came out. And that judgment was never contested. Nobody appealed, which means it stands. So we still are the body charged to conduct the National Delegates Conference of the All People's Congress Party, and we intend to do so.
Did you make it to McKinney as the chairman of the ITGC, especially now alluding to what you've referred to as the court order that you are the body charged to have conducted the National Delegate Convention? Did you make it to McKinney, and if yes, and what led to you not being in charge of the convention? Well,
first of all, there's an injunction, and I even wrote a press statement, a public notice on that injunction, that the All People's Congress Party, the ITGC, will ensure that we obey that particular injunction. So the injunction ends on the 23rd, and amongst the people injuncted is the ITGC, which is, I think we have 37 defendants. The ITGC is defendant number 37. So on those grounds, I cannot go there. I'm a law-abiding person. That's why the last time I was taken to the same court for things that I believe I did that were correct, but the court said, no, you were wrong, and I was slammed a 50 million fine. I have to apologize and all that, and that fine was waived. So as it is, we have to start obeying the law. I cannot go there if I'm injuncted.
But the same High Court judge, Justice Anabuni, that slammed the injunction for restraining the party from holding the National Delegate Convention, few hours later, came back and granted permission. And so what stopped Alfred, because the injunction was lifted, and you were now permitted by the same court and the same judge to go on with the convention?
Yes, well, one thing I've learned, if you're not certain in the law, you go for clarifications. There's nowhere he labeled who is to go and who is not. I know in that particular statement, when I read what he called the variation, when I read the variation, it clearly indicates that the injunction still stands. It clearly indicates.
On the ITGC.
Of the ITGC. But what I found out with everything that Her Lordship did, there's a possibility she was misled. And because the third defendant, which is the APC, is governed by the ITGC. I was on my way here and somebody was saying we did an analogy, like it's taking the engine out of one of the school buses and say, okay, we're going to replace that engine with one of those little keke engine to carry the bus. That's what happened in McKinney. The real engine wasn't there, so it's null and void. The bus did not move.
Alfred, let's look at the convention itself. It's been held. National officers have been elected. The flag bearer of the party has been elected. And you're saying the body that conducted those elections, the body is not legally seated for, to have done what it did in McKinney. Does that mean, in your estimation, all what has transpired in McKinney would be nullified in your view?
It has to be nullified. Let me tell you this. The notion that you can just ignore the law and do what you want is something that I notice around here, that it's chronic. People just don't pay attention to that. You cannot conduct elections. In fact, one thing that baffles me, conduct elections. In fact, one thing that baffles me is that the person entrusted with that task is a lawyer of decades of standing, probably. I don't know how long. But you expect them to be like, well, you know, your lordship, we should do ABC first before I can reconstitute. Even to constitute the ITGC, there were specific instructions how to go about it. And to construct the TIIMC, there were specific instructions how to go about it. And based on what I found out later, a lot of the TIIC members did not go because they know something wasn't right.
When you see the elections of the national officers, the flag bearer will be nullified, does that mean, I mean, with all certainty, that every legal avenue would be explored by Alfred Peter Conteh here?
Every single one of them. Not an iota will be left out. We have to make it right now, or else we'll be knocked out. We don't want any technicality. We don't want any legality to kick us out of the race. We want to contest in the June 24th, 2023 elections. And we want to do so with all the necessary legitimacy. And it's my job right now to ensure that we play our role to make sure our people are not deceived.
If the goal here is to ensure that you come out as a formidable force to participate or compete in the June 24th multi-tier elections, many have submitted arguments citing political expediency for the APC, that you do not have time. Is there a possibility that you go to the table, have a conversation, have a dialogue to see whether or not the personality called over the interest of the party is, I mean, can be agreed upon, can be negotiated, and compromises made to push the party forward rather than going back to court? Which one would you rather choose for the sake of protecting democratic practices in the party?
Well, I've dealt with them for 9 months, and I know what I'm talking about. There's no in, no way out, no negotiation with them. It's only war, war, war. So at the end of the day, we choose the legal means to ensure the right thing is done. Negotiating at this moment is just to tell them, explain to them that everything you did is null and void by virtue of illegality. So let's go back and do it right. That's the only thing I believe we can explain to them. Negotiating, I'm always open to negotiate. I've negotiated in the past, and I've done what it takes to make sure the people get what they want. But this notion that time. In Sierra Leone, when I was a boy, we used to say, you rush, you squash. You know, you don't want to rush and end up in a ditch. You want to take your time, cross your T's, dot your I's, and get it right. So once we hit the polls on 24th June, people will be able to express their intentions and come up with a victorious APC candidate.
Alfred, at some point, many people thought that that deep-rooted feud, impasse, pandemonium, the rancor in the APC, I mean, they've been thrown away when pictures were circulated on social media that you've made peace with the APC when McKinney, I mean, pictures were seen with you and the outgoing national chairman and leader and with other stalwarts of the party. What changed from that time on? Because it appeared then that that was a moment that puts the party together ahead of the just concluded National Delegate Convention of the party. So what changed?
Well, it's simple. I want you to know that those particular pictures, those statements, everything that came out that were peaceful and nice still stands. Nothing changed. The point is we've reached a point, we did something as a party. There's a poem by Anol, you know, a poem that says, for want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. All for the want of a horseshoe nail. An entire kingdom was lost. So everything that's happening here is because they don't want to do the right thing. What they did with her lordship is something they tried several times. Their intention, since day one, is to push me out of the way so somebody else will chair the National Delegate Conference. They said this man is too strict. If he goes there, he won't let the reggae play, you know? He won't do this, he won't do that. So they're terrified. So to kick me out and do everything, like the poem I just read from Anon, it's the same thing. You've lost it all because you just want this horseshoe nail not to be there.
There's this theory that Alfred is angry. Alfred is taking the APC to court because the financier of Alfred, when he was managing the affairs, was disqualified to contest, and Alfred was bidding for Sam Sumana. So when Sam Sumana was disqualified to contest, then Alfred is now going back to court to ensure that the APC as a party is destabilized.
So first of all, it's very insulting when people say, you know, Sam Sumana is my financier. Very, very insulting. You know, I'll say to you probably in the past 2 weeks, what I have spent out of my own pocket. It's multiple times what he donated to the APC. He never gave me anything. He never financed anything. He donated to the APC, something that the party appreciates, a total of 240 million on 3 separate occasions. So when you put that all together, compared to what we've spent, I cannot say anything wrong with him per se, but it's insulting. He's not financing me. He hasn't financed me. When I came, I noticed that Sam Sumana and other people were wrongly treated. And my job was to bring the All People's Congress together. You know, the mantra is APC for all. Everybody should come together. So at the end of the day, I looked at him. He was not treated rightly. We said, let's see if we can make his wrong right. And that's all we did. And him coming around, donating, making all these donations to the APC, not to Peter Conteh or Alfred Peter Conteh. He made his donations to the All People's Congress Party, you know? So he's not financing me. I'm being overspent, to be honest, when you look at the people we're fighting against in the legal field. But at the end of the day, we believe that the law is the law. Even if you do whatever it is to, if you did something wrong, they have to take you to task. You know?
Alfred, it's appeared, going by the results that came out of the National Delegates Convention, that those, for example, who were part of the Alfred Peter Conteh's team in the ITGC, that, I mean, the people that the court ordered you to bring in, you out your own number of people. Some of them contested. They lost. Sulaiman Bumne Kamara lost, and Ibrahim Honorable Ibrahim Bundu lost. So is it that Alfred really does not have the grip, the support, or was not doing things the right way? Because you mentioned Sam Sumana, the court, I still remember, ordered that all unresolved membership issues were to be addressed. And then we saw where Sam Sumana was reinstated unequivocally, in your words, I mean, as the chairman of the ITGC. And now the TIIEMC put out a statement that, oh, he's not qualified because he's not based on the constitution and all of that. So what is happening with your camp? Is it that you've not been able to actually, lead and get the required support in the party?
No, it's not true. I mean, first of all, the people that ran, that they saved from my camp, none of them actually went out there to campaign and do anything. So for the fact that they were absent and people still voted for them shows something, a little bit of resilience in the people. But I want to clarify to you that the crowd, the delegates that you saw, these were all what you call polarized, okay? So from the inception, from the registration process to create a register, to give party membership to people, that's where it all started. Because the 5 people charged with that responsibility, all of them endorsed the candidates that won the flag bearership. So it was something that was boiling out, you know, where you have 58 out of the 59 members of parliament endorsed one particular candidate, and 8 of those members are part of the ITGC. And those 4 of those 5 people are also members of the 5-man committee that was charged with the responsibility to conduct the registration process.